the reason why I really wanted to pick your brain in the first very episode of the Fire Chat about this industry was because we have never prepared for something like this. Good evening, Paviter. Welcome to the first episode of Equitas Media Fire Chat. Just something I did very quickly in like 2 seconds, so please don't judge.
Yes, no problem. No, thanks for inviting. And I think it's a great time that we are starting this fire chat, and absolutely glad to come to this platform.
Oh yeah, I think we have been planning this for a long time now, and finally, I think we should have done this a long time ago. But here we are. Good
I
to be
think
here.
I think COVID. The one positive side of the COVID is that a lot of people have been planning so many things, but they didn't find the time to do it. But I think now is the right time, and we have got that moment to put
Yes,
our ideas into action. So I think it's a great time. Yes,
that's very well said. Thank you. Now I understand that you're also a social media trainer and a marketing specialist, and you're a very successful entrepreneur for a very long time, and has been in education industry for a very long time. You've done amazing community work, and I think the intro might go on, but today what I would like to do is talk about education industry in general, because we do have some clients for Equitas Media, but we also are speaking to a lot of people who are struggling with certain things. So I thought, why not pick up that topic and pick your brain on these ideas.
absolutely. Look,
Before I do that, I just want to quickly ask you to probably talk about your experience in a brief way, so people know who Paviter is.
yeah, no, look, thanks for introduction already. But yeah, look, to give you a little bit of my background. So it is predominantly in brand development, marketing, education management. I have a bit of
Okay.
experience around about 7 to 10 years experience managing high quality education institutions back in New
Yeah.
Zealand, and now I'm also working with a couple of RTOs here to give them advice on their quality and compliance issues. At the same
Wow.
time, building their branding, marketing. It's more on a strategic level, at a
Sure.
governance level, and at planning levels. And also, I have a bit of experience working with the communities, producing brands, especially events. Sometimes people think I produce events, but I don't. I think I produce brands,
Wow.
which are like more sustainable festivals for the future.
Sure.
So that is a little bit of my introduction around when I started my institution back in New Zealand in 2010. And since then, I have been involved in education management. I have been involved in business development, marketing,
Great.
and especially a focus has been on digital and social media channels. So that
Sure.
has been my passion as well. So absolutely glad to come and talk about the current scenario about
So
what's happening.
that's beautifully said. I think you're a very multi-talented man with a lot of positive knowledge to share with the world. And thanks to events and you being the producer, because that's how I actually also got in touch with you. So we'll probably keep events for the next episode or something, but we'll jump into
Absolutely,
straight away to questions if you're okay.
absolutely. Go for it.
All right. So first question that I've here is, in your opinion, how has the education industry business changed after COVID-19 in Australia and New Zealand?
It's not easy to answer this question straight away. I would be honest, but
Mm, sure.
what I can relate to is that my experience dealing with the adverse circumstances back in New Zealand. So, as you know, that when I started my institution in 2010, uh, just after 6 months, when I invested all my money, whatever little I had, we were stuck with the earthquake, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's right.
And that is basically what I feel, is that the adverse circumstances always judges your capacity, and they make you more brave and willing to accept risk. The only thing is that how long you can hang on, and how positive
Mm,
can you remain in all the negativity, doom and gloom everywhere around. So
sure.
what I feel is that, of course, at the moment, a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of education providers might not be able to think or paint a rosy picture. But
Mm,
I think it's not that bad either, because
okay.
what happens is that I believe that every adversity brings along a seed of equal opportunity as well. So
Wow,
the
well said.
only thing I believe at this stage is that number one, everyone will have to start thinking in the businesses, that how can they make their businesses sustainable with the limited resources. So everyone will
Sure,
have to cut down on the expenses one way
sure.
or another.
Hmm.
While cutting on the expenses, because this is a very, very highly regulated industry, they need
Hmm.
they need to keep the quality of education as well as the outcome for the industry same as well. So
That's right.
this is very very it's education. One thing I would like to add is that a lot of people think education is a business. Of course it is a business when it comes to when people are charging fee and everything, but it is not the similar business as the other businesses like a cafe or restaurant or something, because the
Right.
education business brings along a lot of responsibility, because you're educating people, you're giving them skills, you are preparing them for the
Sure.
future. So
Hmm.
one thing I would particularly like to see, like to say that I don't see that there is a huge problem if the
Hmm.
people keep on adapting, keep on reinventing themselves, keep on thinking about bringing in new businesses, new models of business. And
Sure.
also what happens is that when there is always doom and gloom, it's very difficult to be positive. And
Yeah,
also
true.
the human brain has only a limited power to think about things. So some
Mm,
of the things I believe is that there are much bigger brains sitting outside thinking about the whole industry. So
absolutely.
the only thing I think is that in our limited capacity at the moment, we can try to remain positive, think
Sure.
about the better business models, innovation,
Sure.
creativity, and how we can make the businesses sustainable at this point of time. And what
Sure.
I believe is that it is not going to be that bad a scenario for any education provider, as long as they are able to maintain quality, they are able to keep the intakes rolling. So at this stage, I don't say it's a bad situation.
Okay. Something that you shared on your Facebook. I'm just going to really quickly bring up your page on the background.
Yeah.
And it is just an article from a very reputed publisher, from, which is SBS.
Yes.
And it says that coronavirus has halted immigration to Australia, and that could have dire consequences for its economic recovery. So it says nearly 300,000 temporary visa holders have left Australia, and 240,000 would be migrating by the end of this year.
Yes.
And the borders are closed. The students have lost a lot of jobs,
Absolutely.
and there's obviously a lot of thinking behind where we'll get the coin from and what should be the branding and marketing strategy, which I will divert later. But right now, I'm just picking your brain on these numbers that are being thrown around. And do you think it's a short term issue or a long term issue?
Any numbers which the government is predicting that temporary migrants will be leaving and all those kind of stuff, I think in that temporary migrants is just not the students, but there are also the work permit holders, visa holders. So I'm not very much expert on visa issues and stuff, but I certainly do understand that any nation which loses a lot of working population, that will
Mhm.
definitely have an impact on the economic recovery of the nation. But at the
Sure.
same time, if I say it from the RTO or international students' perspective, absolutely, I think that might impact the RTOs and even the university sector or the higher education sector in the
Sure.
shorter term.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is, I believe that Australia has been a very good destination and much in demand. But
Mm-hmm.
slowly, over the period of a year or maybe 2 years, things will start improving very quickly. Of
Yeah.
course, when the size of COVID, the problem is of the size of the COVID, it will
Mm.
take a long, long time. For
That's true.
Christchurch earthquake, it was like just one city was impacted, and we believe that the economic recovery did not start for another 2 years. Everyone was in
Right.
the mode of hanging on. Everyone is in the mode of just not to earn the profit, but to stay in the business. So I
Sure.
think at the moment, it is a strategy for all the businesses, including the education providers or any other business, how
Mm-hmm.
they can stay in business. So that
That's
is
right.
the number one priority. One thing I'm particularly hopeful and kind of happy about the current
Mm-hmm.
situation, where the government has stepped in with JobKeeper payments and all those kind of
Mm.
stuff. That actually helps a lot, because I was
Sure.
just thinking today that at least now the RTO or education provider or any other business do not
Mm.
have a worry that they have to pay their staff as well.
That's
So
right.
this is a big, big support. I think,
Mm.
of course, I have full sympathy with everyone in the business, because I have been into business and I
Mm.
still am in the business one way or another. The people in the business need to now start thinking that what is going to be their next strategy,
That's
what is
right.
going to be their next strategy. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's very well said. I think my personal, I'm, 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 I'm a weird guy because I always look at the worst case scenario, then I make a strategy for that too.
Yes,
I'm generally very positive, but I
absolutely.
do tend to look at what could be the worst case scenario. So, a worst case scenario for me personally is, let's say what happens after they run out of that initial stimulus package by the government, and still the borders keep closed. And then is there a problem with which college or which university gets each other's students by giving discounts? And there's a rush in the industry, if you know what I mean. Because I have a few people talking about these things,
Yeah,
but they're talking about these things behind closed doors, that,
yeah.
poaching students and all that. I mean, there's a lot of speculation going on
There
right
is a
now.
lot of speculation, but what I think is, you're right in saying that at this stage the situation looks, reasonably under control. But
Sure.
absolutely, as a lot of economists and experts in the area, they predict that the things will get worse before they start getting, better. So that is
Mm.
where I'm trying to say is that, of course, now you have seen the worst within last 2 months. You have
Yeah.
not been earning. The colleges have not been operating, and some of them have been operating online.
Sure.
And then there are issues around the engagement with the students. But
Mm.
I do understand that it will have more impact in the coming days, and now is
Mm.
the time for the education providers to start preparing and start bracing themselves that what is
Right.
coming. So
Right.
again, businesses are roller coaster ride, and now we can
Sure.
see, we know the enemy and we know the risk factor. So it
Mm.
will be much more easier for us to at least start some kind of risk management,
That's
some
right.
kind of risk mitigation. And of course, I know that a lot of great education providers and really sure businessmen out sitting out there might have better strategies. But again,
Mm.
as you said, that there are different vibes coming from different quarters. As I
That's
teach
right.
diploma in social media marketing as well, and I sometimes hear um, some stories which are not very rosy. But
Hmm.
at the same time, I think is that every organization need to be prepared to go down and then
Yeah.
come up later on.
That's right.
And
That's
that
right.
is the test for every organization. When they will go down, well, whether they will be able to hang on there or not. So
Right.
that
And
is, and as with these are the turbulent times, and in these turbulences, a lot of things happen. Some people just go under, some people just get
mm,
out of business, some people have to just start thinking different ways of doing business, and some people would be lucky that they will be in a position that they will be able to get better business. So I understand very turbulent times, and it will definitely test a lot of entrepreneur business people and companies trying to do the business in any sector. Education
right.
sector is one area where we work, so we know a little bit more maybe in this area, but it's the same for every business.
The reason why I really wanted to pick your brain in the first very episode of the Fire Chat about this industry was because you are someone who has already been through the earthquakes in New Zealand, and being a college owner and being in the education industry and still surviving that, run the whole thing again and successfully run it. And that's the reason why I thought you'll be a very good person to talk to, because most of the people have not seen these kind of scenarios. They've
Absolutely.
only gone up. Most of them haven't seen, or we have never prepared for something like this. There's no crisis management in place. So thank you for sharing that and being so positive about it. That's one of the reasons why I think you're a good consultant for so many people out there when they come to you for RTO related or college related consulting.
Absolutely. Look,
Makes
I've got a
sense.
few friends within the industry, and they keep chatting with me and trying to find that what has happened there and how did we
Mm,
manage at those scenarios. And
sure.
I'm really pleased that with my little advice, if people are able to hang on there. And for example, um, in a couple of educational institutions, it's more around looking at what can sustain them, how they
Mm,
can keep on doing the business.
right.
So what these were the small things. And for example, in a couple of organizations, we just helped them with the Moodle installation. They were not available, they were not delivering online, and they did not have a clue
Yeah,
where to start. Then
right.
all those kind of small business sustainability practices, taking their
Right.
businesses online, and let
Mm,
them give them those systems and resources so that they
sure.
can remain in business. And I'm quite happy that if our experience helps any business, why not?
Right. Um, Regarding that going online, the point you made, we have some clients who are talking about these things and come to us, and I'm sure there are a lot of providers out there who would be interested to know what we do or what you could advise them in terms of going online, innovating during these times.
I think it's all around the mindset, right? So if your mindset has already been that, okay, you are open to go online and start e-learning methodologies and all, then it will be much more easier. And because that mindset is already there. But there is
Right.
always a lot of mental blockade. People, these are simple things. For example, you and I are in kind of technology, and we develop these kind of systems, and we
Sure.
kind of see that which system is better for this particular need, right? But
Sure. Like
if someone
customize.
is just started in only in last couple of months, or starting deliberating that what should we do and
Hmm.
which system is better, because you have got so many systems, including Moodles to Thinkific to any online system you can think of. But
Sure.
what you have to see is, number one, those systems, what are their positives and negatives, and what
Hmm.
kind of solution your client needs, right? So I think the easiest for anyone to start thinking is, definitely they need to start thinking about their building their online capabilities.
Yep.
That
That's
is
right.
very important for anyone. And also, I think in the similar way, I'm very much passionate, and I understand the meaning and behind building a really good brand. I know a lot of organizations in Australia, New Zealand, they work on a one-on-one basis, B2B, through the
Sure.
consultants and everything, and their business
Yeah.
is just great. They are doing wonderful job. But
Mm.
one thing I think for the future, it will not be enough. It
Mm.
will definitely not be enough. Your brand should stand out in the market, because
Mm.
a lot of things will change in the coming days. Now,
Sure.
of course, education agents are a great way of doing business, but they need to see your brand as well to promote your institution.
Of
So
course.
I have seen a lot of people are spending a lot of money outside, but they do not pay attention to their brand. So
Mm.
they I think, within, as we teach in social media marketing, branding is something very, very important. And
Sure.
once your brand is not recognized, you are just wasting a lot of money down the drain.
That's
And
right.
that is where, one thing I think, again, the positive side of the things are that it is much more easier to build the brands now
Yep.
than maybe 15 years earlier,
That's right.
because
That's
now
right.
we can use and unleash the power of digital media marketing, social media marketing, and the
Yeah.
podcasts, the YouTubes, the videos, all those kind of stuff, of course.
Yep.
But again, one thing if I come back to your original question, a lot of people don't know where to start. And one
Mm.
more thing I really want to emphasize is that a lot of people start hatted scattered. The approach
Mm.
is, okay, what shall we do? Okay, we want to build a brand. Okay, let's start YouTube. Okay, all right, that's good, you should, by all means. But a lot of people, I think, waste a lot of money, effort, and energy by
Mm.
not having a proper business plan and content marketing strategy. So
Sure.
that is very much important for anyone now spending a couple of weeks looking at their business model
Mm.
and really putting everything into onto the paper and preparing a
Right.
annual business plan, strategic
Mm.
business plan,
Sure.
operational plan, marketing plan, and within marketing plan you have to have a content marketing strategy as well. So
That's right.
these are like a little bit basics of thing. It's not very deep
Mm.
rooted, but that is
Sure.
where we come in. That
Mm.
to give that structured framework to the educational institution or any
I
business,
love it.
that
I love it.
how you can prosper in the coming times. One thing
Absolutely.
you would understand that anyone would like to buy from recognized brands, even in the tough times.
That's right. That's
But
right.
if your brand is not recognizable, then you are
Mm.
at the mercy of only selected relationships with
Yeah. Or
what
discounting, or
or
just
discounting,
cutting prices.
cutting prices. Look, cutting
Mm.
prices, that is the worst strategy, because there is no
Yeah.
end to it, right?
That's right.
You can keep on going, giving discounts, you can keep on offering more commissions, but
Mm.
at the end you are just doing that because you really don't know how to brand
Mm.
your institution. And
That's right.
that is the only way you will be throwing money here and there. So that is, I
Yeah.
think, now time to people start thinking, number one, how we can be in the business and sustain ourselves. How can we
Right.
use the online technologies, or
Mm-hmm.
how we can
Innovate.
innovate and be
Mm.
creative? Because one thing is very much sure, it's just not COVID, it's for any business. If you
Sure.
do not innovate, you're going to
Mm.
die, no
Mm.
matter
True.
what. This is
True.
absolutely, absolutely true for any organization. A lot of
Mm.
people, when again, every organization has their own capabilities. And what happens
Right.
is sometimes people think, how I can innovate. You
Mm.
cannot innovate if you don't have that mindset. Then you will
That's
have
right.
to bring those people who can help you
Yeah.
innovate.
Sure.
So you might have to change your entire team, because now
Sure.
that team is not able to help you go into a different direction. But at
Right.
least
Right.
on a strategic level, you have to have some changes who can
Sure.
help the CEO or the board or the organization put
Sure.
into that innovative and critical thinking and creativity mode. That is
Sure.
the only way going forward. One thing is very particular and very interesting in this scenario. A lot of organizations will have to build their capability online
Yeah.
because, for example, as an regulator, maybe Australian Skills Qualification Authority or New Zealand Qualification Authority, they
Yeah.
might like to see in your business for future that
Mm.
what risk management strategies are in place to deal
Of
with
course.
this kind of situation. And
Sure.
for example, let's get a scenario that after 3 years we get a similar kind of situation. How
Right.
you're going to mitigate that risk? And
Mm.
the regulators and organizations at the government level, they would expect from the organizations, educational organizations, that
Right.
what systems you have developed, that if we
Mm.
are faced with a similar situation again in future, how we are going
Mm.
to deal with it. And that
That's
is
very. Yep.
exactly what happened after earthquake, because that is a little bit experience we had. That of course New Zealand is a bit different from Australia in terms that all the fee of the student goes into a public trust account and drip fed to the institutions every quarter,
Oh.
every fortnightly. So
Right.
what happens is, if your institution stops
Mm.
taking students, and that is called the course closure um, event. So course closure
Right.
event, if the
Right.
course closure event happens, public trust stops paying you straight away.
Mm.
That means
Okay.
what will happen is all the money for the student's fee, which is coming to you, is not coming now. Now
Mm.
you have to
Okay.
see that how you can avoid that course closure
Right.
event. And
Sure.
I again understand it is similar in Australia as well. In
Mm.
Australia as well, if it is a course closure event, then basically you are saying that the organization is not capable enough to keep on delivering the same program. When it
Right.
comes to that level, then
Mm.
people will have choice to move on, and that
Mm-hmm.
is exactly what happened in back in Christchurch. A lot of, at that time, it was a course closure event because no one was able to offer any qualification or any programs to the students, and
Sure.
fee stopped, and the students had the choice to move anywhere in New Zealand, and
Mm.
we had to re-enroll the students at that
Okay.
time. Once the thing came back to normalcy, and then we had to re-enroll them completely by completing all their application form, all their contracts, agreements, and everything. So I
Wow.
think at this time, ASQA has been very relaxed because it is unprecedented times. But in the
Mm.
coming time, they would expect from the RTOs or
Right.
education providers that what strategies and systems are in place now that you can keep on delivering your program,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
So that is very much important, that from compliance point of view, a lot of organizations will have to think strategically that
Mm.
what will they do if it happens again.
That's a great example. Thanks for sharing that too, because I think we are in a similar situation, and if you don't think ahead, then yeah, we're just playing with fire. Mm.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm going to move on to the next question, which is kind of related to more towards digital marketing or branding,
Yeah.
for that matter, which you mentioned. So, in times like these, there are two kinds of people here who are still looking to get the coin, right? Like
Yes.
get as much money as possible,
Yes.
because obviously money is important. And there's a very tiny percentage of business owners or strategists out there who are thinking about, okay, how do we brand and create something that is that's going to last for a very long time?
Absolutely. Look, in generic term, I believe that branding helps in all the times, right?
Sure.
What
Yeah.
I think is that a lot of effort is happening now for the people to get their name out. But
Right.
what I have seen a lot of, if I say particularly about RTOs, a lot of RTOs are working on that relationship where their online brand or any presence on their social media channels or maybe digital media channels, it is
Mm,
almost negligible. I can guarantee this thing that a lot of people will have to build their brands and will have to spend a lot of money and
sure,
start thinking strategically that how they can differentiate their brand in
hmm,
this crowded market. And
sure,
also, I think this is an opportunity as well for people to show that empathy and
right,
then touch the hearts of the people and hearts
sure,
of their target audience and
right,
be upfront. I don't say that every business has got that potential to spend a lot of money, because I have run businesses and I see a lot of people saying now colleges should start giving discounts or something. Look, it doesn't work like that. What
mm,
I believe is that it is the time for us not to just discount or offer anything, but be empathetic towards the need of the students or the target audience. And
sure,
then I think that is also the time for you all to start building the brand on based on that empathy and start
sure,
sharing those stories. And I think also this is a great opportunity, as we were discussing yesterday, that even the prices for the online advertisements are quite low now,
yeah. There's
so
less
that
players.
that is again a great opportunity to
Mm,
start thinking about running online advertisements, and not just to earn the business. This is not
right,
the time for that. I think my focus has always been that if you build the good brands, they will
right.
be very sustainable in the coming times.
I agree, like, 100% there with you, because I come from a very hardcore sales background. I'm like 12, 13 years of um, marketing and sales. And then I moved into digital marketing, social media stuff, and consulting. But because I come from a very hardcore sales background, I always looked at things in a different way. I mean, salespeople versus marketing people, sales versus branding. So I think I obviously over the period of time I've moved from that mentality, because I believe you don't need to sell an Apple product. It
Yes,
sells itself, as
yes,
opposed to a Dell product where where they have to slap on the features after features after features and keep discounting. So
yes.
there you go. That's a very valid point made by you. Thank you so
Thanks
much
for
for
bringing
sharing
that.
that.
I would like to add something on that note here.
Please do.
With a lot of with my little experience within education, marketing, and I come across a lot of business people as well. They just want to say sales, right?
Of course.
A lot of, and this is particularly very important for the small businesses, because
Sure.
of course, number one, they never think strategically about the marketing. Number
Right.
two, they never keep money or budget for the marketing. And
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
number
Yeah.
three is that they just won't say. And
That's right.
that is the reason that a lot of people, as you know, that within Equitas, a lot of people approach us with that, and we are very selective in taking those clients, because marketing and sale are different. And small business owners, I know that marketing and sale, a lot of other people will have absolute crisp clear idea, but when
Yeah.
it comes to a lot of small businesses, they don't understand it. They
Right.
are not able to distinguish between sales and marketing. What they
That's
believe
right.
is that if they spend $10, can they sell product of maybe $50 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
I'm
like
just
if I give you $2, how much am I getting in return?
in
That's pretty
return.
much the straight
Yes,
mentality. Like,
yes.
give me the damn sale.
Absolutely. And today I was again, today I was reading about that as well. That a lot of organizations have no clear understanding that how they can spend on marketing and how they can calculate their return on investment on marketing. And
That's
that
right.
is where I think is that, of course, in what I see is I came from New Zealand, and I see in Australia a lot of people have been very fortunate, because there are a lot of people around and there are a lot of what we can say, the business around. But if you will,
Right.
you will notice that business is now drying up in the last few years, right? So even in the education industry, if the one college has maybe like 700, 800 students, they might have only 200 now. And some colleges had about 200 students, they might have only 40, 50 now, right? And this is just because, things are changing. Things are changing. And now I think it is very much important to build the brands. So my emphasis is again building on brand, not building on trying to sell the courses, trying to recruit the students or something. And what are the ingredients of the brand in an education industry? Number one is, of course, your brand is your quality of education, right? Of
That's
course,
right.
it also depends on the kind of market you have. Like, we know that there are different kinds of target audiences out there,
Of
and
course.
if you really want to go longer in this game, you will have to have a good quality of education, of course. Number two is also that quality of education needs to reflect in your graduate outcomes. And then
Right.
the third thing is that needs to reflect on your social media, on your digital media, or
Right.
maybe we may be a little bit biased towards social media and digital media because we understand it really well, and we
Yeah.
use it really well in our marketing strategies,
Of course.
But again, whatever marketing effort you do, it needs to be, for example, just when I look at a few designs, even the design of your brochure, even the
Yeah.
design or the color of your logo, even your
Right.
logo, does your logo stands out, looks like an international education body,
Education provider.
or
Yeah.
it looks like just particular for one community? So
Yeah.
of course that is branding, where again, one
True.
more thing I think important here is that a lot of people, a lot of organizations will have to seriously start thinking about diversifying their business.
Mm.
A lot of organizations have 90%, or not 90, I would say about 100% of their eggs into one basket. And
That's
now you can see some of the political landscapes are changing, right? So if those landscapes become a reality and audience from one nation stops coming, and if you have 100% of your business reliant on one nation, then
right.
basically you are in a deep trouble. So that
Yeah.
is one, I think we were a little bit guilty of that as well at Abacus when we were running, but we were not that.
Abacus is the college you were running in New Zealand.
Yes, in New Zealand. So
Right.
Abacus
Right.
Institute of Studies, we were in the top 5% schools nationwide, and
Wow.
we were regarded into the category one institutions. So
Right.
of course,
Wow.
as I said, but we all learn from our mistakes. We were guilty of that as well, but it does not
So
mean
what you're
that.
saying is your market is coming, your chunk of customers or leads or sales are coming from one specific market in education size. I'm guessing it's either like uh, um, Spanish market, Chinese market, Indian market, South Asian market, that
Absolutely.
kind of thing, right?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
absolutely. So that is something I think a lot of people think, but what they do is on the day-to-day business time, where the money is coming from, they're happy and busy taking that. But they never think of diversifying. And the diversification is something, if your brand is good, you will be able
Yeah.
to diversify quickly. But if your
Right.
brand is not present and your branding is not good, your marketing is not available, and then
Yeah.
you do not have any strategy, no matter what you try, it is not going to work. It might work
Yeah.
for a couple of students coming from a different nationalities, but they
For
will
the
not
short
be able
term, yeah.
to, it will be very,
Yeah.
very short term. So that is where I put a lot of emphasis on, number one, developing your brands, showing it
Right.
off that what you do, and
Right.
also be present on, that within our social media and digital media, we have to have a omni channel strategy now,
course, of course, of course,
right?
of
So a
course.
lot of people think, oh, we are on Facebook. Okay, yes, we know you're on Facebook, but what, number one, what you do on Facebook,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
number
yeah.
two, do you really understand if your target audience is on Facebook? Because
That's
target
right.
audience might have moved to Instagram already, they might have
Sure.
moved to YouTube already. So
Yeah, or even TikTok for that matter.
even TikTok, of course,
Yeah.
that is the new thing. And
Mm.
that is what I was talking to one of our community members, Bhavna. She's running a great TikTok videos. And because I had
Yeah,
to deliver a lecture, and I thought to run her case study to my students. And
absolutely.
some people are using it really well. And
Yeah,
by
we
saying,
do have one client who's ready to sell their products and start their branding on TikTok, advertising side of things,
advertising,
which is
and a
interesting.
lot of people don't even understand that you can utilize the power of TikTok to build your brand, right?
Mm.
Of course,
Yeah,
and I know it's not easy. Number one, number two is the comfort, whether people are comfortable going into
yeah,
that direction or not,
right.
and that will all come from if you will have, number one, a key strategy, marketing strategy, right?
Mm.
And also,
Effective
what I
strategy.
have
Yeah.
seen is that a lot of people have kind of outsourced their things to places where people don't really understand Australia, they don't even understand New Zealand, and the choice
Yeah.
of
So
the color
uh,
combination,
that has, I think, that has always been the case, right? Is because like we are trying to cut cost. I understand that businesses are trying to cut
absolutely.
cost, but the people on the other side, it's good to, I think, which the point that I guess you're trying to make is they sitting there don't understand the target audience here, and that's why they create something which is not, which doesn't come across
It doesn't
as
come across.
quality.
And moreover, I think there is a lot of chaos online at the moment. You know that if you had a website like 15 years earlier on, you could have
Yeah,
got a lot of hits without
yeah,
spending a lot of money. Your SEO
yeah,
was really good anyway because there
yeah.
was not enough competition. But
That's
now
right.
there's a lot of chaos online. The only
Hmm.
thing I was,
Especially now.
especially
Hmm.
now, and I was
Yeah.
reading this, a quite detailed study from IBM suites for CEOs and CMOs. What
Sure.
they're saying is that 93% of the people use social media to make their buying decisions. And out
Yeah.
of that, then they also say is that which is very, very interesting, which I think two areas which I want to discuss. The second point was they were making that the shortening of the attention span
Mm.
for people, it is only
Right.
7 seconds, right?
Yeah.
On one way, we are saying that, oh, okay, you go to social media to market, right? But now what we are saying is you have only 7 seconds to make
Mm.
impact, right? So
Right.
what it is
Right.
saying
Right.
to me at the moment is that even if the people are making a decision to go on social media or go on digital media, whether they are able to be creative or not, because to
Right.
get the attention or to seek attention of your audience, you have to be
Right.
very, very creative, right?
Sure.
So
Sure. Of
these are
course.
the challenges, I think, for a lot of businesses for future, and
Mm.
a lot of struggle at the moment within the industry or with any marketer at the moment is
Sure.
your audience is already 70, 50, yeah, 80 miles ahead of you, right?
Of course.
you
Yeah.
are you are just trying to get used to the new
Yeah.
system,
Mm.
and now
Yeah.
your audience has already moved, you know
Yeah.
and what it
Yeah.
was showing the graph that the marketeers are in early adoption, whereas their market has been laggards now. They are
Exactly.
so miles ahead of it,
I guess
right?
the early adopter and the laggards. I'm sure this is a very interesting topic. We should definitely talk about
We
this
should
in one
talk
of the
about it
episodes.
later on some stage when we will have. But again, to sum it up, I think challenging times produce the good leaders or good brands, and who can deal with the situations,
Yeah.
and that is, and that it also gives you a life experience and builds a lot of resilience in you to do the business. And I remember myself, like at a time when we had this earthquake, business shut. I had to travel in my car throughout New Zealand to find an alternative place, and living almost on $200 a week kind of situation.
Wow.
And
What do you
then
mind me asking? What year was this?
that was in 2010.
Wow.
So 10 years back, and that is the time when we just started, like 4 5 months after our operation. We got the earthquake. We were shut. And but again, at the same time, you see, when you see worst thing, you see the best things as well, right? So
Mm, mm,
I still remember I going to Hastings, and then Hastings Church offering us place to live, and that is where I
wow.
lived there for 7 or 10 days, and then I
Wow.
found my place to start my campus there as well. And whenever
Wow.
I go to Hastings, I never forget to go to that church and say thanks to those people, those lovely,
Mm,
lovely people.
of
But
course. Of course.
that is something I think is that very, very challenging time for everyone. But again, also that the people might not have gone through this before, but
Mm,
now is the time for people to learn from this very strange situation and build their
mm.
capabilities, and
Sure.
also make a decision whether they can deal with it or not, and be open and be upfront, because
Sure.
there are
Sure.
certain situations which you can deal with, and there are such situations people think, okay, no, look, it's too much for me. I'll probably move on with something, and I might be doing a job in future. So
Sure.
of course, that is the time for people to make choices.
Wow. Yeah, very well said. I think you've pretty much summed everything up in a very beautiful way. Thanks for sharing your story, uh, f- firstly, with us, because that's truly very inspiring. Um, and then trying to give us some idea on compliance side, how businesses should innovate. If you don't innovate, it's going to be very hard moving forwards. Look at your crisis management or risk management strategies now. Don't be too relaxed on government stimuluses. Try to come up with your own. Be creative. It's
Yes.
time to make a very good time to build brand right now, as opposed to just go on selling, because not everyone is in the mood to buy. So
No.
it's a good time to build brands.
Yes.
And having said all that,
Yeah.
if someone out there who's listening to this is interested to talk to you further or get your professional advice, it could be either on, they could be in education, they need marketing help, they need professional consulting, or just an advice from you. What's the best place to reach you or contact you, Paviter?
Yeah, look, again, I'm available for those sort of things. Of course, before giving my details out, I'm happy to. And the only thing which I wanted to add, which I think we somehow did not touch,
Sure.
it is a very, very much important time for everyone. I'm not just talking about the education businesses or any business. This is, we are getting into an era where we all will have to learn forever.
Mm,
We cannot stop learning, because a lot of people think, oh, look, we have done enough, we will do a little bit of here and there. But no, I think the time has changed.
times are
I'm
changing.
I'm really glad that we have, after selling my business, then we got into business consulting, and then we started into digital media and social media training and corporate courses for the organizations. So
Yeah.
I think we have been into that mode where we have kept on learning new things. And if you know yourself and myself, we have always been doing, okay, Photoshop, video animations,
Yeah.
this, that, so I
It's
think
always learning.
everyone will
Yeah.
have to get into that mode, and where they
Mm,
will have multiple of skills, and as the
upskill.
times
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
changing. And of course, I will be happy to help any business or any organization if they need my help in any way, in compliance, business development, marketing. And I can be reached at paviter@equitas.com.au. I'll probably, once, you can probably help with some sort of titles to give my details out. But
Of course.
look,
Of
it's
course.
it's more about, I think, is it's not about business at all. It is more about giving the message out to all the organizations out there
Sure.
who have been very very much relaxed, but I think the times are
Abs-
different.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is
Yes,
not, I'm just not trying to upsell or sell you, but
absolutely.
in like, we need money or something. The reason why
Absolutely.
we tried to do the fire chat and this was to bring value first and
Absolutely.
bring some kind of attention on what people are talking behind closed doors in
Absolutely.
the forefront,
Yes.
and address the elephant in the room, right? And see if there's some positive that comes out of this conversation. It's all about having the conversation first. So
Yeah, no,
thank you so
thanks.
much for your
Thanks.
time.
Yeah, no, thanks about talking about the elephant, in bringing the elephant into the room. That is something I think every business owner will have to bring that elephant into the room. And also, if you remember, we always talk about a small book by Brian Tracy, which is called Eating a Frog.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
now it's the worst time. It's more, you know, creepy a time or a disgusting time, and even more
To eat the
disgusting
frog.
than
Yeah.
eating a frog. So I think
That's right.
you will have to pick up your problems one by one and start addressing them. Thank you, Alan.
Absolutely. Thank you, Paviter, for your time. We'll see you on the next fire chat.
Absolutely, looking forward to it.
Take,
Thank you.
take
Take care.
care.